Hey guys, welcome back. Today, let's see the Kubernetes deployment automation using Python. Okay, so in case if you have to automate any of the YAML files, for example, if you have to edit it, you have to edit it manually each and every time. Okay, so we can automate using Python. Okay, let's see how we can do that one. So here I am using Killer Coda Kubernetes Playground. In case if you have some other environment like Minikube or EKS something, you can use the same as well. Okay, now let me open the YAML file. So first thing, like let's create a file like YAML automation.py. Okay. So the first thing is we need PyYAML because we will be working with YAML. So in Python we have a module called PyYAML. So in case if you don't have, you can install it using pip install PyYAML. Okay. So I already have it in my environment. So I will just use import YAML. Okay. So it is there. So once this is done, then actually, for example, in case if you have to execute any of the commands, or else in case if you want to execute the script, Python script, we normally write it like this, right? Python, and then we have to pass in the script. Here we have given as YAML automation.yaml, and then for example we will have a YAML file, right? For example, here we may have some deployment YAML something. So deploy.yaml, because we have to work with certain file, right? So first when you execute a script, we have to write it as Python, and then script name, sorry, it is py, and then deployment YAML, and then what exactly we have to change. For example, in case if we have to change the image, we have to pass it as image. Okay, so here, so this is the script name. Okay, and this is first argument, and this is second argument. Okay, so normally in case if we have like multiple arguments like this, so we have to handle this one. For example, if someone has given additionally few more arguments like some other thing like tag or whatever it is, then the script should fail. Okay, or else in case if they have just given deployment.yaml and they have not given image, then also like it should fail. Okay, so how we can do that one? So we can just use like some argument validation. So in case if we have to work with argument validation, we have to use a module called sys. Okay, so we can import a sys module. Import sys. Okay, I will just comment this one. Okay, so let's do the argument validation. So how we can check how many arguments has to be passed? So here we can use if else statement. So if length, okay, length sys dot argv. Okay, argv is for checking the arguments. Okay, like how many arguments we have, we can check that thing. Okay, so here, so how many arguments we have? We have 1, 2 and 3. Okay, first is script, and then second is deployment YAML, and third is image. In case if you have to change the image, we have to pass it as 3. Okay, so totally we have 3. Okay, so if sys.argue is not equal to 3, not equal to 3. Okay, so in case if the number of arguments is not equal to 3, then it will fail. Okay, so we can print. Okay, so it will display the output to the user. Okay, when it will display in case if this is not equal to 3. So in case if it is not equal to 3, we have to print something, right? So that the users will understand. Okay, so we can give usage. Okay, how the usage should be? Usage should be Python, and then we can just give this one. Okay, just copy this one. Okay, so always, like in case if you have to pass in any file names, you can just close and open and close it with greater and small symbols, so that we will know like all these are like separate files. Okay, so if someone is not giving the exact length, it will just exit. Okay, so we have to give the exit status as well. Like based on that exit status, we can know whether it is success or fail. Okay, so in case if it fails, it will exit with sys exit equal to 1. Okay, So in case if we have exit status as 1, it is like it is failed. In case if it is 0, it is successful. Okay. Now it is there. Now let's try to simply execute this script. Okay. I will show what exactly happens. Python, and then our file is YAML automation. Okay. So here we need some deployment YAML, right? So we have to create a file, um, deploy.yaml. Okay. I will just create deploy.yaml, and then I have the script here. I will just okay, we have the common deployment YAML file. I will just copy this one, and then we can use it in the script. Okay, I will just paste it here. Okay, so I will just give the name. Okay, the name of the file is deploy.yaml. I will just give deploy.yaml. Okay, now we have this one. So normally, if you see this YAML automation script, what it has to be, first it has to start with Python, and then automation like Python script, and then deploy.yaml, and then we have to give the image. For example, if I don't give the image, see, it is giving the usage. Usage should be Python yaml.py deploy.yaml, and then image. We have to pass the image, otherwise it will fail. Okay. Now this first part is working. Okay. So what exactly this part is doing? It is like argument validation. Okay. So first step is argument validation. So it is done. Okay. So whenever, for example, if the users are not giving the exact three arguments, it will fail. Okay. So this is done. Now we have to read the YAML file. Okay. So uh, read the YAML file. So when you comment like this, it will be easy for you to understand like what exactly that upcoming files are doing. Okay. So now we are dealing with the YAML files, right? So first we have to read the YAML file. Okay. So first we have to get the YAML file as a variable, YAML file. So I am creating this variable. So sys dot argv. Okay. So here where we have passed this YAML file, we have passed it as this is deploy.yaml, right? So we have to pass it as 1. Okay. So and then we are passing image. Okay, image we are passing it as 2. Okay. So this will be 0. So in the list it will be 0. This is 1 and this is 2. Okay. So image, like we can pass it as also variable. Like for example, in case if you are creating new image, we can give it as new image equal to sys.argv, and then in the list it is value 2. Okay. Now now we have passed this deployment YAML as YAML file, and then this image as new image. Okay. Now what we can do, now we can read the YAML file. Okay. So in case if you have seen the old videos, we have already seen it. Like in case if you have to read anything, we have to start with open. Okay. So with open. So what we have to open? So we have passed in, we have to open the YAML file. So YAML file is this one. It is passed into the variable YAML hyphen file. Okay. Just you can pass it to this one. Now, in case if we have to write, we have to do W. In case if you have to read, we have to pass it as read. Okay. First, let's read the YAML file. Okay. So all these things should be under quotes. So read, and then we have to pass it as some variable. Okay. So with open YAML file read as, let's give it as f. Okay. As a file, and then we can give one more variable. Okay. So let's consider it as data. Okay. We will have data inside the YAML file, right? So we can give data equal to, so anyway this is a YAML file, right? So I will just give it as YAML dot, and then we have to load this one, right? So we have something called safe load. Okay. So what we exactly we have to load? So we are just reading this YAML file, and we are reading it and passing it to the file f. Okay. Now we have to load this f, right? So we are passing it into the variable called data, and then we are loading it. So f. Okay. Now we have loaded the data into the variable called data. Okay. This will read your Kubernetes manifest into Python directories. Okay. So once this is done, then actually we have to like update the container image. Okay. So how we can update? So if you see here, we have passed it into the variable, right? Data. So in the data, we have the entire YAML file. Okay. So how we can pass it? In YAML file, if you see here this deploy.yaml, so entire thing we have passed it as data. So under data, we have something like related to all the specs and all, right? So we have spec, and then inside spec, so spec key it will come in this main line. So inside spec we have template, okay, and then inside template we have one more spec, okay. So inside spec we have container, okay. Inside container we have the image, okay. Now we have to update the image, right? So how we can pass this one? So here if you see we have spec and then template. Inside template we have spec, and inside spec we have container, okay. And also like we can have multiple containers, right? So this will be like inside a list it will be 0, and in case if we have one more container it will be 1, okay. Inside this container we have image, okay. So let's see how we can pass this one in the YAML file, YAML automation, okay. So here we have loaded this entire YAML file. So here we have this deploy.yaml, so entire thing is loaded into this data variable, okay. Now let's see how we can pass, okay. So the first we have to pass data, because the entire data is inside this one, okay. So here first we have to go to spec, just so first we have to go to spec, okay. Like let me just okay, just open this one. So just first thing we have to pass it as spec, okay. So inside spec we have template. So if you see inside spec we have template. So you have to pass that one. Okay. So everything should be under quotes. Okay. It can be single quote or double quote. So we have template. Okay. So inside template we have one more spec. Okay. Just pass that one inside the spec. Okay. So inside spec we have containers. Okay. So here, okay, we have passed container. Now what exactly we have to write? So as I told, in containers, we can have like multiple containers, right? So the first one, it will be 0. In case if you have a second container, it will be 1. Third container, it will be 2. Okay. Similarly, so we have to pass in that value. Okay. So here it will be 0 because we are working with the first container, right? So this is done. So now final thing is inside container, we have image. Okay. So we have to pass in the image. Okay. So now we have went into spec and then to template and then into spec and into container 0 and then image, okay. So here we have to change the image, okay. That is our automation, right? So previously our image is like we are passing it as image, and the new image it will be this one, okay. This one whatever we give in the second argument, here we will, when we execute the script we are giving so if you see, for example nginx or else mongo, whatever it is, okay. So this thing you are giving, right, this is the image name, okay. So that thing it will be passed as a second argument, so that will be passed here, okay. How we can pass? So we have to pass it as equal to new image, that is the variable we have passed it here, right? So it will be assigned to that variable, okay. Now we are read, okay, we are using read, and then we are checking this data and then we are assigning it, okay. Now once this is done, we have to write the updated YAML file. So here it is updating, but we have to update this YAML, right? So when we update this one, it will update this file, okay. So now let's see how we can write. So we already know, like, so for write we have to just change this read into write, okay. So again with open, okay. So what we have to open? We have to open YAML file, comma, and then we have to write. Okay, when we want to write, we have to pass it as W. Okay, and then we can pass it as file. Okay, F. So now this is done. Now again we have to update the file. Okay, now no need of passing the thing into any of the variables because we have already passed it. Okay, now YAML dot safe dump, okay. Previously load means it will load that into a variable. Now we are dumping means we are filling it, okay. So safe dump, okay. So what we have to dump? We have to dump the data because we have the data, right? So here we have updated the new image into data, right? So we have a variable called data. So in case if you have some other variable, for example, xyz, you have to pass it as xyz here, and then here you have to pass it as xyz. Here we have given as data, so we have already updated this data, right? So again you have to pass in data. Okay, so inside data, which data has to go? Where the data should be f. Okay, so data comma f. Okay, now we have updated the YAML file. Okay, now we have to print the output whether it has successfully print dumped or whatever happened. So we have to print that one. Okay, print updated the deployment name to. Okay, now we have to pass the variables here. Okay, new image. Okay, so now what exactly we done? So once we read and we updated, now we are printing the successful message, like in case if everything is fine, then we will get this one. Okay, now it is like updated, it is updated to this file data. Now we have to update the manifest. Okay, now how we can apply the manifest? To apply this manifest to the Kubernetes cluster, we have to use a module called subprocess, because we have to execute the commands, right? For example, if you have to apply this deployment.yaml, we have to pass in as kubectl apply -f, and then we have to pass the YAML file. So what we have to use? We have to use subprocess, import subprocess. So in case if you don't know about subprocess, we already covered this thing. You can just go through those recordings. Okay, okay, so now we have imported the subprocess module. Now we can apply this one into our manifest file. Okay, how we can do? So we can pass it as subprocess dot, we have to run command, right? So you have to give it as run. Okay, so all these things which we write should be like inside double quotes, and each command should be comma separated. Okay, so it we have to pass everything as a single command, right? So we have to pass it as a list. Okay, how we can pass it? So first it will be kubectl, right? So kubectl, and then we have to separate each and every command word with comma separated. Okay, kubectl apply, apply comma hyphen f comma, and then YAML file, like whatever YAML file we have. So here this is this YAML file, right? So you can just give it as YAML hyphen file, so that it will directly apply to that YAML file. Okay, YAML hyphen file. So once this is done, then like you have to check the status, right? Like whether it is running or not. So again you can use same command. Okay, subprocess dot run. Okay, now in case if you have to check, how we can check, you can just do like kubectl rollout status, and then you can give like deployment name and all. Okay, so that it will show. Okay, so now let's try to execute that. Okay, inside we have to pass it as list. It will be kubectl, it should be under double quotes, everything should be comma separated. So in case if you have to get the deployment name, we have to pass it as deployment, and then we can get the deployment name from metadata inside data. So we have to pass it as data, and then inside data we have metadata, right? Metadata, and then we will have name for that one. So even metadata should be under quotes. Okay. So what exactly this will give? This will give the status. Why? So in case if you have to get the status, kubectl rollout status, this deployment. Okay. So how we can get the deployment name? It will be under data, right? So I have passed in data, and inside data, if you see, we will have something called metadata. Okay, metadata and then name. Okay. So I have passed metadata and name so that we will get the deployment name, because in case if we have like a different deployments, in case if you have to get which exactly we have to check, so we can pass it like this. Okay, now we have the script. Okay, but how to execute this one? So just you have to do, just you have to copy this one. Okay, because like just for writing this one, it will be helpful here. In case if you have to execute, we have to use it in the killer code. Okay, so here what files we have? So we don't have anything. Now I will just create these files vi. We can give it as YAML automation.py. Okay, paste it. Okay, so we have the command here. Okay, I'll just save that, and then we have to create deploy.yaml so that we will be able to modify this one. Okay, deploy.yaml, paste it. Okay, now we can test it here itself. Okay, how we can test? For example, here if you see, we have image nginx 1.14.2. Okay, now I have this Python, and the name of the script is YAML automation.py, YAML automation.py, and then the name of YAML is deploy.ml, and I'm giving it as Mongo. So when I give it as Mongo, this image, okay, this image, it will be automatically changing to Mongo. Let me try this one. Okay, if you see, it is Mongo, and then we have some errors. Let me check what exactly it is. Okay, this is for it is trying to execute that kubectl as well. Let me try to close that one. So I'll just comment this one, clear Mongo. Okay, so if you see, updated the deployment name to Mongo. Okay, if you see the deployment YAML, it is updated. Okay, similarly, okay, in case if you want to update it to nginx latest. Okay, so no need of going and editing directly in this deployment.yaml. Okay, you can directly execute the script. See, it is updated. Even here it is updated. Okay, by this way, like, you will be able to modify and execute. Okay, now let's try to execute that in here itself. Okay, so in order to execute this one, we have to use Python, and then it is YAML automation.py deploy.yaml. Okay, now in case if I execute, because we have to pass in one more argument, if I execute this one, it will throw error, because we have just done the argument validation as well, right? So it is giving, we have to pass it like this. Okay, so now I am giving it as, for example, if I am giving Mongo. Okay, like in original script we have given as nginx, so I will just give it as Mongo. Let's see. Okay, so YAML file doesn't exist. Okay, which is the YAML file? YAML file. Okay, let me check that one. Okay, it is because we have passed this YAML file in double quotes. We have shouldn't pass it in double quotes. That is the issue. Let me remove that one. Okay, okay. WQ. Let me try to execute again. Okay, if you see, updated the deployment name to Mongo, and if you see deployment nginx. Okay, here if you see, we have mentioned the nginx deployment name as nginx deployment, so it is showing like that, and it is showing waiting for the deployment nginx deployment to be rolled out. Okay, so let's wait. Meanwhile, let me create new tab. kubectl get pods. Okay, if you see, two pods are running. Okay, so we have tried to deploy the Mongo part, but the deployment name, it is taking as nginx deployment, because if you see here, so here in this deploy YAML, we have given it as static name. Okay. Now let's try to modify this as well. Okay. So based on whatever name we give, so it has to modify. Okay. Let's try to modify it like this. So it is under like metadata, and then we have this deployment name. Okay, just we can update that in the YAML file. So how we can update? So here we have to change a few more things. Okay, so what are the things we have to change? One is here. Okay, so under this one, okay, so we already have the data. Okay, we have all the data of the YAML file. So here we have to pass one more metadata name. Okay, so we have data, and inside data we have metadata. Okay, so we have metadata, and after metadata, I'll close this one, metadata, and we have name. Okay, we have to pass in the name as well. Okay, we can pass it like this, name. Okay, now okay, we have given this one, but here we have to pass a variable. Okay, so here we can just give it as also we have to pass it as a new argument. Okay, so we will give it as deploy hyphen name, okay, equal to sys dot argv. So this we can pass it as third parameter. Okay, now we have to change the condition as well. So instead of 3, now we should have 4. Okay, so here we can add one more thing, so that it will be deploy name. Okay, so it will just give the deployment name as well. Okay, now we have changed this is that are equal to 4. So in case if someone is not passing 4 arguments, it will fail. So we have passed in the variable like this arg equal to third, and then we have passed in the data. Okay, so here it will check for the metadata name as well. Okay, so now everything will work fine. And then here we can just add, if you want, we can add updated the deployment name to new image, and also updated the deployment name. We can pass it as deploy name. Okay, now this is there. Okay, now let's see, okay, how it will update. Okay, okay, so here we forgot to update this deployment name. So here we have to pass in the deployment name because it has to update the YAML file, right? So in case if it has to update the YAML file, we have to pass it like this. Okay, now we have this one. Just I will just copy this entire thing, and I will replace it in the YAML file here. Okay, vi YAML. Okay, I will just remove everything, insert, paste it. Okay, okay, now let me um, run once more. Reset. Okay, Python and then YAML. Then we have to give 3 arguments. So in case if we execute, we will get this. Okay, so we have to execute deployment name, deploy.ml, and image. Let's say, take as nginx, and then deployment name. Let's give it as nginx. Okay, now let me try to execute this one. Okay, because it is already there, I will just give it as some other name. For example, nginx 1. Okay. Okay, sorry. Like I didn't change it in that file. Again, I have to fix this one. So I have directly fixed it here last time. I'll just remove these double quotes. Okay, let me execute again. Okay, if you see, deployment app nginx 1 is created. Okay, now if you check, the deployment name will be same as this one, kubectl get pods, get pods. Okay, if you see, nginx 1, so it is updated with the latest one. Okay, now let me try to execute again with the Mongo. Let's see. Okay, We don't have, previously we have created the image with Mongo, but not with the deployment name. Okay, I will just use the Mongo image, and I will just give the deployment name also as Mongo. Okay, so it is updating. So if you see, we will get the new images here. If you see Mongo deployment, we have got, okay, Mongo parts. Now let's check kubectl get deploy. If you see, we have Mongo, Nginx1, Nginx deployment. So everything is updated. So it is very easy to manage the YAML files. In case if you have YAML files which you are managing using manually, you can use this Python automation so that you will be able to automate and do these tasks. Okay. So the main thing is like we are seeing all the modules which are very important in DevOps. Okay. So you can use these things based on your requirement. Okay, that's it, guys, for today. We can catch up in the next class. Okay, thank you. Bye.